Sprint car and late model racing coming up this weekend, plus Dale McDowell coaching World of Outlaws betting officially going live, and we'll talk complicated team setups and why the Hoffman 69 sprint car won't return like we've known it. Let's go. It's Thursday, January 30th. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is DIRTRACKR Daily presented by Kubota Genuine Parts. This 2025 dirt racing season continues to ramp up even more with racing on track this weekend. At Alltech in Florida, the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series is back to action for their kind of portion of the speed weeks that we're in right now. Just one race complete so far for Lucas, a Tyler Bruning victory at Golden Isles, and now they'll race the next 3 nights at Alltech. 10,000 a win, 12,000 a win, 15,000 a win each night through Saturday. All signs pointing towards a very nice couple of days there in Florida, so it'll be a good weekend to hit the track. Teams did get open practice last night. I saw in my race pass, they were above 40-ish entries for the evening. I think I saw 43. The fastest lap that was there that I saw was set by Jonathan Davenport. There was a bit of damage done last night. Flow Racing's Kyle McFadden shared that Davenport, Dale McDowell, Shane Clanton, Hudson O'Neill all had run-ins with the Alltech wall, so those guys will have a little bit of work to do before they race tonight. Interesting to note, too, about McDowell, he was actually turning some laps in the Riggs Motorsports 81 machine. That is a team car to Brandon Overton's 76, obviously the Longhorn factory team. They have that partnership with Riggs. Both Jack and Jason Riggs have made appearances through Speed Week so far, and apparently McDowell is doing some driver coaching for the team. It's hard to imagine as well that McDowell isn't giving some feedback, too, about the car and setup with his incredibly vast experience. Being a Team Zero and Fox Shocks guy, he certainly would have a different perspective on the Bilstein Longhorn combo. McDowell did appear with the Outlaws during the Sunshine Nationals, but his website doesn't have another scheduled race until the Hunt the Front Series opener at March 8th at I-75. 2 Alltech nights with Lucas a year ago. They were won by Tim McCready and Ricky Thornton Jr. A lot has changed since then, though. Multiple teams in between for those drivers. T-Mac was still in the Paler Motorsports ride back then, so he's had 2 cars since then. And RTJ, obviously, with SSI. Going back to 2020, other winners at Alltech have included Jimmy Owens, Brandon Shepard, Kyle Larson, and Davenport. Looking ahead for Lucas, teams will have Sunday off after they race Saturday night at Alltech, and then things get right back going again on Monday with open practice at Ocala. They'll then race at Ocala from Tuesday through the next Saturday. If you want to watch any of the Lucas action coming up, it's going to be live all weekend over on Flow Racing. At Volusia, we'll have our first sprint car shows of 2025 starting tonight. They're going to run as well through Saturday. This event was previously the Sprint Car Shootout and USCS sanctioned. Now, though, since WRG owns the ASCS, these are under that banner, and they are calling this actually the opening just of Dirt Car Nationals. The 360 sprint cars will be joined all 3 nights by UMP Modifieds. Prelim nights, 3,000 to win, and the finale on Saturday is 12,000 to win. This does officially kick off the ASCS National Tour season, but it's likely that we won't see the complete roster of full-time drivers in attendance. One of those, for example, is Seth Bergman. We know he won the championship last year, all signs, and I think he's actually even been announced as being back full-time. He's not going to be at Volusia. After this weekend, the series doesn't race again until April, and officials have made a change that will allow teams to miss Volusia. The full weekend will be counted as a single points race for the championship. And for events between January 30th and July 30th, full-time ASCS teams can actually drop their worst finish. So for teams not ready yet to race, nothing will be hurt by not coming to Dirt Car Nationals. And this makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of the 360 teams are not professional organizations, so not everybody can just show up to Florida in January ready to go after, the season didn't end until, November last year. There should, though, be a very strong field of cars coming to Florida. Some names to watch for include Austin McCarl, Matt Covington, Blake Hahn, Jason Martin, Sam Haverteep. We talked yesterday about Emerson Axum, Scotty Thiel, Brian Brown, Danny Dietrich, Jacob Allen is coming down, Brady Bacon, Dazen Persley, and I think Justin Peck in the Rudine car. Rudine posted some social media graphics that showed a gator on them. I haven't seen that they've actually said they're coming, but it certainly would seem that that's the case. All 3 nights of the ASCS will be live over on Dirt Vision if you are not headed for Volusia. After Saturday, the racetrack there will sit quiet on Sunday. Then the Modifieds are back Monday and Tuesday. And then the World of Outlaws sprint car season starts next Wednesday. Jumping over to the betting situation, that Wednesday Outlaw opener will be the official start to wagering being available for WRG-owned series. We talked about this earlier this week, remember, around the rules bulletin that came out, but the announcement did finally come yesterday. The release does have quotes from both the WRG side and Alt Sports Data. It's available over at worldofoutlaws.com if you would like to read it. Nothing in there we haven't really already talked about. Betting, though, at least to start, is going to be extremely limited. So depending on where you live, don't expect to be able to participate right away. In North America, the only legal betting states, according to NXT Bets right now, are Connecticut and Oregon. Plus, you can do it in Ontario, Canada. There are 32 states where you can play daily fantasy sports games related and kind of tied to the World of Outlaws, but I'm not really sure what that looks like. We'll have to wait and see how that part of it manifests. More states will be added, but it sounds like they are still awaiting regulatory approval for many locations. You can find more information on all of this over at nxtbets.com. There's also, I think, a link to that in the release over on the World of Outlaws websites. Last week on the show, I did a bit of a deep dive on dirt racing sponsorships, as I had a bunch of questions about how they work kind of in the aftermath of the Hoker Trucking Bobby Pierce situation that popped up at the Gateway Dirt Nationals back in December. If you missed that show, it was the January 21st Daily Show, if you want to go back and check that out. I ran through a lot of the scenarios about how various sponsorship situations work, and the deals are incredibly varied. In a similar vein, I wanted to talk today about team setups themselves. The motivation behind this topic is really centered around Brady Bacon's situation and the questions and comments I've seen around the Hoffman team. I did touch on this back in November as well, and which I'll get to that part of it here shortly. Bacon is transitioning this season to full-time wing sprint car racing and will not be full-time with the USAC Sprint Car Series like he has been. He's still going to run some non-wing events, I think a fairly significant schedule, something like 15 races, but most of his time will be split between the Chris Dyson-owned 20 winged car and the TKH21 ride. That TKH21 car is the one that we've seen Bacon race a lot here the last couple of years when he has put the wing on. He's going to be at Volusia this weekend in the Dyson car. He's then going to run the World of Outlaws opener next week with Kevin Newton before getting back together with Dyson, taking the wings off and doing the USAC shows at Volusia and Ocala. Since his announcement, the Hoffman question, it's come up multiple times with people wondering who will get that ride now that Bacon is gone. The answer, though, is it's just not that simple. The Hoffman 69 you've been watching travel USAC the last several seasons was actually just Bacon's team with Hoffman's support. It had the 69 on it, their colors and the name, but that was all Bacon's equipment. And this is where, just like sponsorships, team situations get murky. Hoffman isn't going away completely, as I've been told they'll still likely have a car for the Little 500, and there could be some scattered non-wing appearances in 2025. But a Hoffman 69 full-time with USAC is just not happening. Bacon shifting his focus means the end of the Hoffman 69 as we've known it, at least for the foreseeable future. We saw a similar situation in 2024, towards the end of 2024, with the Scotty Thiel Aussie Motorsports deal falling apart. And this is what I mentioned, I hit on this back on a show in November. Aussie and Gibbsville Cheese announced that they had hired Logan Julian, but again, not a simple deal. That wasn't the team taking Thiel's seat out of the cars and just putting in Julian's. Outside of the engines and the toter, everything you saw for the Aussie Motorsports 73 was actually Thiel's equipment. Aussie took the engines and the cheese sponsorship to Julian's existing operation, which was then effectively rebranded. And to put a bow on this, at least for Thiel, he just announced a new sprint car deal 2 days ago. He's going to run 40 shows this season with what was the Home Pro Racing 50YR team. That team is now Ragged Edge Racing, and they're going to run the 51 with Thiel starting this week at Volusia. They're going to pick and choose 360 and 410 shows all season. Back to this larger point, though. Just like sponsorships, team deals, they're not always neat and clean. There are plenty of hired drivers, don't get me wrong. David Gravel, Sheldon Hodenshield, Justin Peck, and on and on and on. A lot of hired drivers. But a lot of teams are just kind of mishmashed operations with one party maybe owning the truck and trailer and some cars, maybe another owns the engines, and maybe even another owns the shop. So when the USAC season starts at Volusia in 10 days, don't expect a Hoffman trailer to come rolling in with fresh 69s and a new driver ready to tackle the championship. That's the Daily Show for this final week of January. Hope you guys enjoy the racing coming up and your weekend. We'll see you right back here on Sunday.